From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. In today's show, Mark tunes in to Senator Chuck Grassley's weekly Ag conference call. I visit with Food Bank of Iowa CEO Tami Nielsen about the latest Map the Meal Gap study, and Dustin starts off his monthly chat with Iowa Ag Secretary Naig. I'm Riley Smith, one of your hosts for today, and joining me now is Dustin Huffman. And Dustin, we saw some pretty warm weather to start off the week, but so far this morning, it's really not been that bad.
No, it hasn't. I mean, we are sitting at like 80 degrees, earlier mornings, and, but it's still, the humidity seems to have backed off a little bit as well. But if we could just get that nighttime to cool off, a bit back down below the 70s, I think that would do wonders. And it's supposed to be coming here by the end of the week. We could be seeing only highs in the 70s, and that corn needs that because it needs to have those cooler nights. So that way it doesn't sweat as much. And that's what we needed. As soon as we got those heat waves where the nights did not cool back out of the 70s, that's when we knew we were going to be set up for some of that corn sweat that we talk about that ends up making things even more humid. And that's just the way it goes. It just takes a little trigger to get that ball rolling, and it takes a long time for that to back off. And so hopefully once this heat wave lets loose, it'll relax things a little, keep the corn unstressed. And of course, as the beans are starting to flower and will be ready to set pods soon, in some places maybe already are setting pods, you want that stress to be gone, because heat affects the soybeans even more than it does the corn in this stage. And you want to make sure that they are obviously getting the warmth they need, but getting the respite that they need at night and getting the moisture they need. And that's what we talk a little bit about later on today with Iowa Ag Secretary Naig is, what we're needing weather-wise and what we've seen weather-wise and how the crop is reacting to that. It's been pretty resilient as we've seen so far, but it doesn't mean we're there yet. I mean, we're looking at the August 20th is coming up again, and that, of course, is the anniversary of the derecho 6 years ago. And so we know that even though you get through to the second half of August, it does not mean the bushels are in the bin and that the crop is made.
It's hard to believe that the derecho was 6 years ago already. I mean, I just remember all of a sudden waking up and it's like, okay, things are a lot different now because there's corn flattened, there's buildings knocked down, and there was just a lot of damage everywhere. But that just goes to show how quickly the crop conditions can change here across the state. And, speaking of that warm weather, it's impacting the county fairs across the state as well. I was at the Monroe County Fair for one of our Heart of the County Fair awards on Monday, and it was a scorcher that day. I got to say, it was real hot. They hadn't started their fair at that point yet, but as they were getting things set up, you could tell that heat was just a little dangerous. But then today, Mark Magnuson's on his way to the Plymouth County Fair in Lamar's, and I'm jealous. He's going to have a lot nicer weather to be up there and present that award and just kind of check out the fair as well, because I think, Dustin, one of the coolest things about this award is not only are we recognizing those families, but we're kind of getting to see a little bit of the different county fairs across the state. Some of them are more of a livestock expo where they just have a small show ring and a few kids who come in, but then other fairs are much bigger, and some of them even comparable to the Iowa State Fair. So there's really quite a variety of things that you can see at those fairs across the state.
Yeah, that there is. I mean, I was up at the Story County Fair almost 2 weeks ago now, and that is more about the kids, and that's what we talk about. And you'll see that in our upcoming videos when they come out or at the state fair for our Heart of the County Fair award winners. But this was about the kids, their projects, their livestock judging, and all about that. And it's great to see that is still in place for those situations and for those kids. That's what it's all about. And that's something else we'll talk later on this week with Secretary Naig about, again, is those county fairs, those festivals, how they are preparing our youth for the next stages of life and leadership lessons. And sometimes the bitter pill of coming in second. You were a 4-H'er, Riley, you know how it goes, that sometimes you put everything into it and you may only walk away with a red ribbon. But there's also that bittersweetness when you come away with a purple ribbon and get to go to the state fair. So there's lots of things to be learned. There's lots of ups and downs, and that's one of those things. Those county fairs help teach those kids to be prepared for anything and rise and do your best. I mean, because in the end, it's what you can do. Is there anything that's doing your best, and you've done everything you've needed to do. And it's good to see those traditions carrying on. It's good to see the work that goes into these fairs, and it's good to recognize those people. And that's why we do it, and why we'll have the Night of Honors when they have the county fair day at the state fair on that first Friday. And of course, looking forward to that as always. Of course, state fair just about 2 weeks away from tomorrow. I know that's like your national holiday. I'm sure we'll talk more about that during the show, Riley. But first, we're going to go ahead, and Mark was able to visit with Jim McCormick of agmarket.net earlier this morning to talk about what's going on in those grains.
Joined today by Jim McCormick of agmarket.net. Jim, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Hey, good morning. Right now, the big driver is a wetter forecast that is really pressuring the beans. The overriding story this morning is that the near-term forecast turned wetter with a system forming near South Dakota Thursday, moving into the Corn Belt Thursday into Saturday, potentially dropping 1 to 2 inches of rain, favoring the northern areas, and then 0.5 to 1.5 elsewhere. So that kind of rain makes grain mentality, especially for the critical bean potting time frame we're moving into August. That's leading us down. It is pulling the corn down a nickel, maybe not as much because the corn is getting past most of the critical pollination phase, but this moisture will help that grain fill situation. On the other side of the coin, we are seeing the wheat market continue to find a little bit of support due to essentially continued disruptions of wheat coming out of the Black Sea.
And as you mentioned with that weather forecast and the rain, as far as I've seen, it's also headed to those very key areas of the Corn Belt as well, isn't it?
That's correct. I mean, if you look at most of the models, I would look at the European model, looks in general a little bit wetter than the GFS model, but they're all trending. Both models are trending the same way. And for the most part, the I states, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, parts of Ohio, Minnesota, and even parts of the eastern part of the Dakotas and Nebraska, they are painting a pretty good picture over the next week to two that will definitely, like I said, will definitely help the bean crop along. That's relieving some of that pressure that built up buying we saw on fears that maybe the government would have to lower the bean yield or potentially lower the bean yield in August. And now we are like taking out some technical support. We left the gap here about a week and a half ago. We just filled that gap. Technically, we're trying to hold the 20-day moving average. We take that out, you could see technically this market slip down closer to that right around that 468 level, 470 zone potentially.
Looks like another perfect day to get out there and enjoy the summer.
You hear that? Live music, laughing kids, the roar of the rides, and someone yelling, "Corn dogs!" That's Fair Spirit at the Iowa State Fair, August 13th through 23rd in Des Moines. 11 days of blue ribbon traditions, big summer nights, incredible food, and the kind of memories you talk about all year long. This is your Iowa State Fair. Plan your visit now at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Well, back on Iowa Ag Matters right now, and we're going to hear from Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, his weekly agriculture call with several folks with the ag media, and he talks about the Farm Bill and the future it has, especially as it sits around in the Senate.
United States Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, says that the Senate Ag Committee could still mark up a farm bill next week before the August recess without sideline Mitch McConnell and a GOP majority. Grassley says that Senate Ag Chair John Boozman still hopes to take up the farm bill in the final week before a 5-week recess, despite Senator McConnell not yet medically cleared to return.
If he did come back, we'd have the majority and there wouldn't be any problems moving it out. Maybe Boozman has the capability of getting a bipartisan group together like we normally have.
At the same time, Grassley says that building a bipartisan majority for the farm bill is more difficult than in past years.
I think every other farm bill that I've worked on in the 46 years I've been in the United States Senate has been a bipartisan bill. It seems like this year's it's very difficult to get Democrat support over a food stamp issue.
Disagreements over SNAP funding have stalled a new farm bill since the 2018 law expired 3 years ago. Senator Boozman argues that farm bill was based on 2012 farm data, which is no longer relevant given today's input inflation and low prices for commodities. For more on this story and all of our daily news stories, you can visit our website at iowaagnet.com. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter that delivers those 5 daily stories to your inbox each day. Also on our website, you can find the podcast episodes of our daily radio show, Iowa Ag Matters.
Rod Stewart. When I see you tonight. A special evening with the icon. On a downtown train. A night of hit after hit after hit with special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th, Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart, live.
Well, Dustin, as you mentioned earlier, we're only 2 weeks out from the Iowa State Fair, and speaking of having Grassley on the show, he'll be at the Iowa State Fair. We usually visit with him there, and many of the state's politicians will be there, especially this year. It's going to be a heavy year for that. And Dustin, we usually have a lot of great conversations out at the broadcast shed.
Yeah, that we do, and it's always great to have those folks out there, both to tell us what's going on in Washington, but then also we hear from some of the other opponents, because a lot of them are running for office, rerunning for office, some of them running for new offices. We also have some offices that are going to be changing hands, especially look at the governorship, and also Iowa Senator Joni Ernst stepping down as well. So we're going to be seeing some new faces out there. We're going to be talking about some new angles with policy, and it's always an interesting discussion. And of course, people that are coming by the booth or coming by the shed when we're out there, and they have a chance to hear those folks when they're out here visiting with us, and eventually get to ask their own questions if they have a minute. And so it's always good to have that that conversation at the shed, and talking about agriculture. And of course, if you want to see us at the state fair, we're in the same place we've always been now for a couple of years, down right next to the Super Bowl. We'll have the shed down there. And I know, Riley, we've already talked about what we're eating first. And I think you said a foot-long corn dog was your first thing. I couldn't remember for sure, but, I know we're all getting excited for it and all ramping up. I'm just hoping, though, that we don't have another heat dome settle over us before the fair.
I've shifted. My first state fair food is going to be that new gnocchi from Destination Grill. That's one of my favorite places there, and they have a fair food finalist. So definitely going to try that first. And
I thought it was the caviar chicken nugget.
You know what? I'm not enough of an influencer, I think, for the caviar chicken nugget, Dustin. So we'll have to see about that, unless I can get famous before then. We'll have more Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
Your local radio station brings you the pulse of your community. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network adds specialized ag content to help farmers make informed decisions. From county fairs to national ag news, we're here to tell the story of agriculture to everyone who needs to hear it. Together, we deliver a blend of local community and ag industry-focused information that rural Iowa relies on every day. This message from your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.
Time for the Basis Report here on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Dustin Huffman. Only 3 elevators have made any kind of changes to their bids. Most of our elevators have switched to the November soybean contract, so I will point out the August ones still remaining. ADM Burlington 17 cents under on corn, $4.39. Soybeans 8 cents under August at $11.92. Cargill Eddyville 17 cents under on corn, $4.39 for the cash bid. New Co-op Algona 33 cents under on corn, $4.23. Soybeans 25 cents under, cash bid $11.83. Ag State Sheldon 19 cents under on corn, $4.37. Soybeans 40 cents under at $11.68. Ag State Elta 26 cents under on corn, $4.30. Soybeans 35 cents under at $11.73 for the cash bid. Cargill Cedar Rapids 12 cents under on corn. The cash price there $4.44. They're a nickel under on August soybeans at $11.95. 5-Star Co-op Nashua 32 cents under on corn, $4.24. Soybeans 35 cents under, $11.73. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada 22 cents under on corn. They're at $4.34. ADM Des Moines is a nickel under on soybeans. They're at $12.03. New Co-op Red Oak 20 cents under on corn, $4.36. Soybeans 20 cents under at $11.88. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain 42 cents under on corn, $4.14. Soybeans 50 cents under, $11.58. At New Co-op Sheraton, they're 24 cents under on corn. They're at $4.32. Soybeans 25 cents under, $11.83. Walk-On Feed Ranch 43 cents under on corn, $4.13. Soybeans 54 cents under August at $11.46. New Co-op Glidden 31 cents under on corn, $4.25. Soybeans 25 cents under at $11.83. Innovative Ag Farley 41 cents under on corn, $4.15. Soybeans 61 cents under at $11.39. And finally, Cargill Muscatine, they're 28 cents under on corn, $4.28. Soybeans 18 cents under August at $11.82. Cash, corn, and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a rundown of your basis prices here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight,
A special evening with the icon.
on a downtown train.
hit. After hit. After hit. With special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th, Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart, live.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters, and Riley Smith can be talking now with the CEO of the Iowa Food Bank. A new study came out from Feeding America talking about the situation we're finding ourselves in. Of course, a tough economy means more people are relying on some of these services. Riley?
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, on the phone right now with Food Bank of Iowa President and CEO Tami Nielsen. Tami, recently was released the Map the Meal Gap study for this year. First off, if you could tell us a little bit about what was included in that study and especially on the metrics of food insecurity here in Iowa.
Yeah, so Map the Meal Gap is, a study that is put out by Feeding America. This is the 16th year, and they use data available from the USDA Economic Research Service, U.S. Census Bureau, Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they estimate local food insecurity really at the county level, congressional district, and state levels, and estimate local meal costs and food budget shortfalls, and just really create this great interactive map so that you can see whether you're looking at Iowa or Idaho. You can see each and every county and what that shortfall is. It's a very valuable study as we look at where we best deploy our resources to get the food out in the amount needed to our neighbors in need across our 55 county service area.
And in that 55 county service area, we know that food insecurity has been food insecurity has been increasing in pretty well all of them. And it's one of those things where, you're looking at the statistics here. 12.4% of Iowans, so 1 in 8, and then 17.8% of Iowa children, 1 in 6, face food insecurity. So this isn't an invisible problem. This is your neighbors. This is the people who you see on your commute to work that are facing food insecurity.
That's absolutely right. It's not an us versus them. It's just all us. Food insecurity does not look a certain way. A neighbor who is, suffering with food insecurity, they do not look a certain way. It could be your next door neighbor. It could be your coworker. It could be a kiddo in your child's classroom. And we know that it is. 100% of every county and congressional districts are home to folks who are facing food insecurity across the nation. And certainly that includes here in Iowa. And, we think of Iowa as being a state of plenty, especially with food. And, it is, shocking to some to learn that there are neighbors who do not have enough food to eat.
And I know something else that's caused a bit of a hurdle recently is that the USDA has stopped collecting food insecurity data. As we look forward into the future of kind of keeping track of that, how is that going to impact things?
Well, Feeding America has assured us that they will continue to do this study. They'll just have to use different data. This is the final year using that USDA food security data. And so they will use, additional data, including even, food prices and spending and using alternate data sources, including from their vast network of food banks across, our state, certainly, and across the United States.
And what are some of those other hurdles that the Food Bank of Iowa is facing when it comes to fighting food insecurity? I know that the additional money required to meet the state's food needs would require nearly $269 million. So is money one of those top things?
Absolutely. Budget is always a tough one for us. As we continue to see more and more neighbors in need, we're seeing the same thing. Even though we source food, at wholesale costs, it still costs more. And then the freight to get it here, there's fuel costs that have risen as well. And so there's just been a ripple effect. At a time where we really are seeing more neighbors in need, we're getting less USDA food. And so to make that up, that we have to purchase more, and we're purchasing at a higher cost. And as I said, the freight costs add an additional burden on top of that. And we continue to spend more per month now on purchasing food than we did the entire year of 2019. And there's just a continued increase and a surge in need because wages are not keeping up.
So when we look at, there's a lot of people who want to help out with this problem. What's the best way for them to help? Do you guys prefer to see those monetary donations, food donations? I know all are welcome.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All are welcome. They certainly can pop over to our website. They can donate right there. They can sign up for a volunteer shift. They can reach out to us to learn more, take a tour, advocate, work with your elected officials or those who are running to let them know how important this issue is, to their constituents. And then certainly, you can always reach out to a pantry or a meal site too that's in your local community and ask them how you can help as well if you're not familiar with them already. And so there are a number of ways to get involved.
And one last thing, Tami, we've got the Iowa State Fair coming up. I know the Food Bank of Iowa usually has a little food drive happening there. Is that going to continue this year?
Yes, it will, and you'll see one of our newest trucks there too at the Iowa State Fair parked, and you can pop over there and learn more. And then when the fair is over, the following day, we will do food rescue at the fair. That's been a really wonderful program that all those vendors donate the food that they didn't use during the fair, and that goes out to our neighbors in need as well. So it's a great program on the end of the fair as well.
All right, Tami, thank you again for your time today. And just as a reminder for everybody, what's the website to get in touch with the food bank?
It's foodbankiowa.org. And certainly peruse around there. And if you have any questions, they can certainly always reach out to me or through our Contact Us page as well. We're always happy to help folks learn more.
Get in the fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair and save before you go. The countdown is on to the Iowa State Fair, and now's the time to plan ahead. With advance admission tickets, lock in your visit before you arrive and step into 11 days of live music, fair traditions, incredible food, and summer moments you look forward to all year long. Save $5 now. Advance tickets are available now at iowastatefair.org, on the app, and at participating Iowa Hy-Vee and Fairway stores. Celebrate fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair.
August 13th through the 23rd.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined at midday by Ethan Robson of agmarket.net for our Midday Market discussion. Ethan, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Yeah, weaker trade to start the mid-morning session. September corn's down about 6.5 cents, 4.52. East corn down 6, 4.74 1/4. Soybean market weaker today. September soybeans down about 27 cents, 11.77 1/2. New crop soybeans down about 27 as well, 11.93, below that $12 mark.
So, Ethan, as you look at this, is this basically just wiping out that weather premium because of an improved forecast with some rainfall?
It is. It's a combination of both, right? So we're seeing the improved weather forecast showing some pretty good chances of rain. Now, that's going to be the important thing, is that the U.S. does get some of this rainfall. All eyes are on U.S. weather, especially in the month ahead for August, because we all know August is a prime time for U.S. soybeans, just overall growth. So something the market's paying close attention to, just taking some of that overall weather premium out today.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today?
Yeah, livestock, different story there. You're seeing some green on the screen for the live and feeder cattle market. Good to see there. Some good turnarounds. That live cattle October up about $2.32.5 there, $2.24.50. Feeder cows up about $2.50, $3 in the front, up about $4 in the deferreds there. So they've got some green on the cow sector today.
And as it relates to that story with the border reopening, it is a rollout essentially where we're starting farther west from Texas and then working a little bit closer to Texas. But right now, Texas not really a big factor in that. It's still a lot of unclear situation about what's going to happen there because they are not in the initial reopening of the border from what I understand.
That's correct. Yeah, a lot of unknowns, like you said, and that's something that hedge funds, speculators, and just the overall farmer, rancher, producers trying to figure out what the best way to approach this is and what's actually going to happen too. Something markets paying close attention to the days and weeks ahead, trying to figure out what this border reopening is going to look like.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yeah, visit us online at agmarket.net. Give us a call here in Bloomington Normal, 1-800-779-1515.
Get in the fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair and save before you go. The countdown is on to the Iowa State Fair, and now's the time to plan ahead. With advance admission tickets, lock in your visit before you arrive and step into 11 days of live music, fair traditions, incredible food, and summer moments you look forward to all year long. Save $5 now. Advance tickets are available now at iowastatefair.org, on the app, and at participating Iowa Hy-Vee and Fairway stores. Celebrate fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair.
August 13th through the 23rd.
September corn down 6 3/4 at 451 3/4. August soybeans down 27 1/4 at 1184 3/4. August soybean meal down 610 at 314.20. August soybean oil down $1.33 at 69.43. Chicago wheat up 2 1/4 at 664 3/4. Minneapolis wheat is up 3 cents at 706. Kansas City hard red wheat up 4 1/2 at 730 3/4. September oats down 1 1/2 at 312 1/4. On the Merc, August live cattle up $1.93 at 229.40. August feeder cattle up 208 at 345.15. August lean hogs down 93 cents at 102.18. August pork cutout unchanged at 114.88. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Hopping back into the market conversation here on Iowa Ag Matters, Mark Magnuson this morning visited with Jim McCormick of agmarket.net. We're resuming that conversation to get the livestock side of the markets. Mark?
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
On the livestock, we are trying to get a little bit of a bounce today. We got feeder cattle up $2. We got fats up $2. We saw strong corrective gains on Tuesday. No cash traded relatively light right now. So the market's trying to kind of correct after that hard meltdown on the opening of the border to Mexico. We got to remember, it's going to be a very slow process opening it up. We'll see if we can get through it without any glitches. But right now, I'd argue it's more of just of a technical correction.
What's happening on the hog side right now?
The hogs, not much today. They've had a kind of a couple of days of consolidation at this point in time. If you look at it, we have had one little heck of a rebound off the June low. So more of a consolidation trade at the moment as we wrap up the month of July's trading.
And as that border reopening works, from what I understand, it's going to roll out starting in those areas that are farther away from the problem spots in Texas and then work its way towards Texas. But we haven't even heard much about Texas at all in terms of the reopening, have we?
We have not. And that's why, the market really took the opening like, wow, they're going to open it up really quick. They are going to bring the cattle in. It is going to be, I'd argue, a crawl more than a sprint. The market may have overreacted a little bit. I do believe Trump administration is trying to get the price of beef down. Remember, we are getting less than 100 weeks out to the midterm elections. So, I know the president would like to see the price of beef come down to the consumers. This probably isn't going to be a game changer in the big picture, though, in my opinion, because, like you said, it's only one opening so far. Then we're going to open a couple, and it's going to be more of a trickle than a stampede of cattle coming across the border, it looks like to me.
ACM and CMA award winner, Hardy.
That's my favorite country song.
Live in concert.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning.
August 13th, 8 p.m., Iowa State Fair Grandstand.
You got it good, old boy.
With special guest McCoy Moore. Hardy Live. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Hardy 2026.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Back on Iowa Ag Matters, and every month, Dustin Huffman has a sit-down conversation with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. And the July conversation, a pretty important one as we're looking at those crop conditions across the state. Visiting first off here with Secretary Naig, Dustin's talking about the weather conditions and how that's been impacting the crops.
We're here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and it's time for our monthly sit-down with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. And Secretary, can't believe it, we're already in July, just days away from the Iowa State Fair. Where has this year gone?
Oh my goodness. It's just incredible how it's flying by, and what a great time of year though. County fair season leading into the great Iowa State Fair. But boy, you are right. Summer is flying by, and we're watching this crop come on really strong too. So, hey, it's right where we need to be. Lots of heat, some moisture to go with it would be nice. And here we are.
Of course, some places you don't want to say maybe not too much, say too much that you want more moisture. We had that 3-4 inches of rain here earlier this week in some places in the central part of the state. But have you seen anything in your travels about any damage that's come from some of that flooding and some of the large hail we saw in a couple places?
Yeah, unfortunately, and of course, if it's happened to you, it's significant. But I would still say, and this is, I'm going to knock on wood as I say this, but that we have not seen widespread severe weather when it does happen. And so, to be sure, there are places that have had, my goodness, some of these rain events, something like we're getting twice as much rain as you should expect to get in the month of July came in a matter of 2 to 3 days, and some really localized heavy rain, some wind. I've heard of some green snap, some pretty significant hail, but again, you're talking about pretty isolated. And there are some places, though, in the state that are starting to trend to the dry side. And of course, it's just that time of year where the crop has got high demand. We've had the heat, and so we've got to continue to see that active weather pattern. And actually, we have been here over the last couple of days. So by and large, I'm going to continue to say, and I've been all over, Dustin. I've been in Northwest, Northeast, South Central, and headed east again today. And what I see is largely things look pretty darn good, although the top end of the yield could be off in some localized places.
And we were thinking about that with the idea that right now corn is obviously the pollination is its most stressful time. And to have that heat when the corn needs it is great because corn loves the heat. It's getting that shot of rain during a difficult time. But then also we've had this week where it's cooled off. So it kind of takes the stress off that corn a little bit while it's trying to pollinate.
For everybody, right? For livestock as well, those overnight temperatures going down is really important. And again, do you have the moisture to go with it? So yeah, again, I'm seeing a lot of there's some hay that folks are trying to get up. You're trying to dodge some raindrops there too. Lots of fungicide spraying happening across the state. So it's just a really active time. And again, we need that active weather pattern, and by and large, we're getting that.
And of course, as you're doing those travels, you're getting to see a lot of county fairs, a lot of functions going on, a lot of activities. Tell us about some of the things you got going on and what you've been seeing out there.
Oh my gosh. Well, again, it's a great time of year to do it. First of all, I love our county fairs, and they're unique community events. Every fair is different. It takes a tremendous amount of volunteers and local sponsorship. And I love to get to them and to be able to support them and to encourage folks to get out to the fair. A county fair, one, it's great for our youth, and I'll talk about that, but it's also an opportunity for folks that aren't involved in agriculture. It might be one of the most impactful or the closest that they'll get to farming or to agriculture in any given year. And so we should take advantage of that and make sure that we're taking that chance to connect with folks and educate folks. But I have to tell you that the thing I love most is going down through the livestock barn, or going through the 4-H building, or being in the show ring and watching our young kids competing. It's a chance to learn some skills. some life skills, hard work, dedication, ownership, and then you got to go and compete. And maybe you do well, and maybe you don't do as well as you'd like, but you need to deal with the consequences of that. And I just love to see that playing out. Moms and dads and grandpas and grandmas and community members surrounding these kids. It's a tremendous thing.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
This year at the Iowa State Fair, Fair Spirit meets 250 years of American history in a celebration across the fair. See the America 250 Iowa display and a permanent sculpture created just for the fair. Walk the Iowa Veterans Memorial Walkway honoring service and sacrifice. Experience 250 years of the American flag, along with red, white, and blue contests and fair favorites. Then look to the sky for drone shows glowing in red, white, and blue, lighting up the fair like never before. From history to celebration, it all comes together at the Iowa State Fair. Learn more at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Well, we are going to wrap up another episode of Iowa Ag Matters. Of course, you can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. Of course, as we said, Mark on his way to the Plymouth County Fair up in the Lamar's area, as he'll be there for another Heart of the County Fair Award presentation. And we'll be looking forward to hearing more from him coming up tomorrow. You're listening to the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network.